Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Future of BizTech. I am your host, JC Granger, and I'm interviewing today Ihor Kutsalaba, who is the founder and CEO of Streamline Utilities. Ihor, thank you so much for being on the show. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself first, and then what is it that Streamline Utilities does?
Okay, hey, welcome everybody. So I'm the co-founder of the company. So me and my partner, we came from the Ukraine 12 years ago. We're excited about what's happening in US, about the future you can achieve here. And we started the business back in 2018. And that business was to connect customer in the customer's houses, like basically cook up the internet. And eventually we grew to the company that now is a turnkey. So what Streamline Utilities provides is a turnkey solution for internet service providers, where we do the construction, we do the installation in customer houses, we do the designs, and a lot of other things.
So your company, it's on the B2B side. Your company, your big clients are the telecom and ISPs kind of thing. Walk me through like kind of who are the specific types of companies, or even if you want to name a couple that utilize you, and then to what degree do they utilize you guys?
For sure. So we done work for most of the major providers. So we done work for the Comcast, we done work for the Charter. We currently doing work for companies like Metronet, which is the regional provider, and a lot of other names really. Like we recently wrapped up the project for the AT&T in Illinois market. So any provider you can think of, we pretty much done the work for them.
Do you have any kind of geographic limitations? Because obviously, when you're doing some physical work here, right? You're working with actual like underground, telecom and above ground and whatnot. But you have to send people, you have to send equipment. Are you U.S. wide completely? Are these companies able to use you anywhere in the U.S. or is it limited a little bit?
So we're a coast to coast company. When it comes to the construction, we mostly in the Midwest area, like Indiana, Illinois, Michigan states. But we have done multiple projects in the southern states and in the East Coast and West Coast. But more permanent locations are in the Midwest. When it comes to the installation part, because we do a lot of that as well, we are spread out a lot, probably like 20, 25 states right now.
Oh,
So
okay.
we are everywhere on installation because it's easier just sending a technician and the truck on a ladder and he can get the job done right away. With the construction, it's a lot of relocation of project managers, equipment, and other things. So we're trying to aim for a long-term project. And in our history, it tends to be in the Midwest. But again, we're currently looking into multiple opportunities like Arizona, Texas, and some other states.
Okay. And I'm going to back up a little bit. You said that you came here from Ukraine about 12 years ago, right? Um, maybe my math is not on, but that sounds like around the time of the first Russian invasion into Crimea. Is that was that timed about? Was that what made you want to come here?
So that's something that made me not coming back because I was kind of in the middle. I was actually active participant of the protest in Kyiv back then. And when I left here for the program, I came as a student, as a J1 exchange program. And I stayed here for 3 months and I decided that I want to build my future here. And I just saw the opportunities there are in this country and I realized I want to build my life here. So that's what happened. I done a lot of different things before I got into the telecom, but I got into telecom probably in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So I was a technician myself. I was doing the installations. I was a supervisor then. I was doing a lot of blue collar work. And eventually I realized, well, I mean, I know how this stuff works. We can start a company. So me and my buddy Yuri, we started the company and eventually we grew that company for just the installation now to the turnkey provider.
Cool. And so I guess what made you want to start the company? Because you said, listen, I mean, you came over from Ukraine, you had good job, right? I mean, like usually that's where a lot of people stop. They're like, hey, I'm here in America, I got a great job, I'm killing it. And you were like, nah, I'm rolling the dice. I mean, like what made like what was your inspiration? What was there part of did you learn a lot and realize that there was a lot of mistakes or problems at the ground level that you wanted to fix, or was it just more of an ambition to be a business owner? What made you pull the trigger to starting your own nationwide, telecom installation business?
I mean, I always wanted to be my own boss, to be realistic. I mean, you have to run the show. But how I got into telecom, because I was really impressed how many things that are not done in the US, even comparing to Ukraine. Like, for example, would be in Ukraine, we have 100% fiber optic coverage. So we got later into the internet and building everything infrastructure, but we started building fiber right away. Here, a lot of operators they still operate under the copper cables, under coax cables, and the latency and the reliability and the cost of that is not as good as fiber. So I just realized that there's going to be a huge opportunity for the fiber builds in the future. And that actually happened after the COVID. That was the game changer for a lot of people in the industry realizing there's just not enough bandwidth for everybody and everybody's home because when you have to work from home and you don't have the reliable speed, well, you can't work really from home.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point. And there was a lot of things obviously that came out of COVID that we didn't understand, in advance that we do now. And it sounds like you kind of, you saw that opportunity, so that's good. Um, what about what were kind of like that early company journey? Like, what kind of struggles or walls did you hit initially? Because I imagine it's not cheap to start buying trucks and big equipment. Because I saw some of the equipment on your website, and it looks actually pretty incredible the way that it works. I mean, even the equipment looks like it's just stacked with technology, right? So, I mean, how did what kind of issues were there to begin with, and how did you get through them?
So I'm not the guy that came from the owning a different business and starting a new one. So we were learning along the way. Some of the biggest mistakes we learned in the beginning was we got to do what we are good at. So initially, when we started the business, like you said, trucks, buying equipment, all that, we were trying to save every dollar. So I was fixing the trucks myself, replacing the brakes, other
Wow.
stuff. And I realized, well, I'm a business owner. Yeah, I might be saving $100 there, but I'm losing an opportunity to grow my business right now. So we realized that it took us some time. But once we realized that, we started growing the business and we started doubling our revenue every single year for, I'll probably say 3 or 4 years in a row.
Oh, wow, that's exponential growth.
Yes, it is. And I was super excited about that. And I would always now going forward say that you got to focus what you're good at. I mean, don't try to do somebody's job.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I agree with that, right? What are you guys doing to get like the word out? I mean, like you obviously are very enterprise level, right? I mean, these are large companies, telecom companies that are your main target demographic. How do you even get on their radar? I mean, right now you're obviously already established, so I'm sure that you've worked with a lot of the companies you already want to work with, but is there a larger demographic out there of companies that you could work with? And if so, what are you doing for them to even know that you exist?
For sure. I mean, a lot of the work that we've done in the past was working for the general contractors, but now more and more we're working directly with the service providers. And in order to get in contact with those service providers, it's really networking and getting to know people. Because I have in my company a lot of experience, like people that like my director of operations, project managers, supervisors, they coming from the industry, so they know people everywhere, and they got a great skill set. So they know somebody at one or the other company. This is how they bring us in. And I mean, it's no news for the industry. Everybody knows about that. And they put their reputation on the line. So if he wants to go to that specific customer, that customer would know my project manager and he knows what kind of service and quality of work he can deliver. So that helps a lot. Also, really just meeting people, going to the events. We recently have the big one, Fiber Connect. Met a lot of great people from the industry there. So also we have a business developer manager who's always trying to connect with new leads because sometimes it's also a cold calling and sending it emails
Yeah.
and being like, hey, do you have a big project for us that we can finish for you?
Yeah.
But to stay there in that, I would say, good phase and then build a reputation is really do the good work because the good news travel fast, but the bad work and bad news travel even faster. I mean, we've seen
Mm,
it a lot of times. So you do the good job in Florida, they're gonna know about you in Illinois or California if that's the same company.
yeah,
So
that's true.
we're just focusing really on the delivering quality service. So they want to use our services again and recommend for different customers because realistically people change companies. They can work for one service provider today and other service provider tomorrow, but if no services we are delivering, they would want us at the other customer as well.
Is there anything about your company that you think is very unique to you guys that separates you from other companies in your industry?
So, like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm not the guy that came here just to build a business. I came from the field. So I know every level of the industry, how that works, which help us to hire the right candidates, help us to understand what it really takes to connect the modem in the customer's house or really run the machine in the field. I never ran the machine in the field not myself, but my project managers did. So we're trying to hire the people and that know how things works, not just managing the business, and crunching the numbers at the office, but actually caring about the products that we deliver.
Where do you guys want to be in the next like 12 months? Like where, if we had this conversation again 12 months from now, I mean, you've been doubling in size. Is that where you're trying to go, double size again? Or is there anything other aspect to the business that any technology you're trying to bring on, anything like that that you want to have and execute in the next 12 months?
For sure. I mean, we actively implementing any tools that we can find for our industry with AI, because I mean, if you're not using AI right now, it might be too late tomorrow.
How would you use AI in what you're doing, right? Because see, I think a lot of people are picturing, they hear the physical installation stuff, right? Where would the AI fit into the business model? How much of it is done on the back end, right? Like on the computers and whatnot.
So it's really about the simplifying things. So let's say you need to, do some kind of design, and instead of hiring a designer who's gonna work on that for multiple hours, you can use a mid-journey and get it within seconds. Or if you need some policy for the company, you can create a draft with a chat GPT and you have results in a few minutes, which you can fine tune and put to work. But if you want to look further, there are so many software right now that helps the industry overall. From the OSP construction company, as far as I know, there is a software that you can use to analyze the data and create the maps like engineering designs and things uh, from analyzing the data collected like from the drone. So you can basically have a drone flying across the street, taking the pictures from the pole, analyze it all, and provide the results so you can actually start doing the design for the construction. And that saves just unbelievable amount of time for companies to process the data.
Nice. Okay. So then where do you see the future of the industry going, right? Because I mean, there's obviously, like you said, there's AI tech that can help you on operational side, right? But then there's also the technology in the physical, like you mentioned, Ukraine has fiber everywhere, but that's because they were late to the game. And ironically, the later you are to the game, the faster you can leapfrog people because our infrastructure is so old that it takes a long time to upgrade it, even if we're the ones who invent it, right? Which is what happened. Like we invented that, but everyone else gets it before we do because they didn't have anything, right? It was easier to build that. So where do you see the future of the technology of this kind of telecom installation side of things, especially in the US, where we have such an aging infrastructure that's not easy to dig up and destroy and replace?
So, like we mentioned before, with the COVID, everybody realized everybody needs the service. So there was a huge government-funded program called BEAD, where a lot of service providers basically got money from the government to bring service to every single house in the US. So everybody has the reasonable speed to be able to work from home. But the really huge game changer as well right now is AI, because AI is not just a smart code. So it's a moving of a lot of data from one data center to another, and also training the machine, which takes a lot of traffic. So because of that, there is a lot of construction happening and new data centers built just to support that AI needs.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. So I mean, kind of basically what you're saying is that the AI side is going to change how the infrastructure is done because it's going to make it more efficient with what's existing, but that will still max out. So you still have to create bigger. Yeah, I've always thought that like you know how they said like batteries, let's take batteries for example, right? Or even chip processing. AI can actually optimize, battery usage, chip usage. And what they found with AI is that even if you have the same old infrastructure on something, old technology, if you are able to install AI on top of it, it can actually shave off the inefficiencies within it. And that same piece now can do 30% better than it was without having to replace it. Now, it might max out at 30%, in which case you'll have to replace it eventually. But to being able to wring that rag dry a little bit, it seems like, and that's not small money. You have 30% of production on an existing platform. That's millions and billions of dollars saved or made, right?
Sure. I mean, like I said, with all the AI, we just need more bandwidth for
Mhm.
the industry overall. We just need more fiber optic, because we don't see it at the consumer level just yet. Like if you want to use a chat GPT, latency is not that bad. But as more and more people start using that, it's gonna affect us. That's why all of the service providers are trying to deliver that service to the consumers. But as well, the biggest challenge is the middle mile, basically the fiber optic from one data center to another, where you transfer a lot of data, and that calls for a lot of resources from the companies like ours, just to build that fiber and lay that fiber in the ground or like from pole to pole,
Yeah.
so we can have the traffic.
Yeah, it sounds like they're scrambling to keep up at this point, right? I don't think people anticipated how much compute would be used with AI, and a lot of people forgot, like, hey, that has to travel somewhere somehow. Now, what's your take on Starlink, right? And then also, how are you guys adapting to that? Because that's obviously circumventing, not completely. Obviously, there still has to be some sort of physical infrastructure, but Starlink is kind of leapfrogging around a physical underground infrastructure into a space-based. So how A is that affecting your business, and B, how are you guys integrating with it, if at all?
So we're not integrating or working with Starlink at this time, but I see that we might start in the nearest future. As far as I see, a use of Starlink, it's really for those remote areas where you cannot get a service cable, like basically get a cable delivered to that area, or the ROI doesn't work for the cable providers. Because if you have spent a lot of money to connect one customer that is, multiple miles away, it might be easier to do wireless for him. And wireless, another thing that is actively actually growing right now, because wireless it's easier way to deploy in those remote areas as well.
Got it. I'm curious because you started from the ground up, like literally, right? With your business, literally out in the field, in the ground. Um, what kind of advice would you have for people entering this space, right? Because like, you came from another country, that had a whole different, infrastructure, and I think that was probably your biggest advantage, was coming from somewhere, ironically, where their setup was like the future of what ours should be, right? So it's like you come here and it's almost like going back in time for your profession, right? But for other companies or telecom companies, is there any specific advice you have for telecom companies of what they need to be doing, or for anyone who's entering the industry, that's trying to help bring all this to fruition for our critical infrastructure?
Yeah, I would probably split it into two parts. And as far as the industry and the business, for any small company, I would say focus on the big picture. See what the industry calls for. Because, like, example would be micro trenching right now. A lot of companies do the micro trenching, but that wasn't a trend a few years ago. So just see what the need is, because that's what the customer is going to be asking for, and try to adapt. But from my personal perspective, educate yourself and try to be better, 1% better than yesterday. Because like I said, I wasn't a business owner when I started, and we made so many mistakes. But as we learn more and more, I started building that business and realized how to organize the business, how to grow it. And it just really working on your personal development.
Yeah, no, I agree. Strong body, strong mind kind of thing, right? Like you were out in the field, you were sledging hammers and digging ditches, and and now you're on the computer side of it, right? Now you're in an office today. So where can people find you personally, Ihor, if what they heard, if they're like, hey, maybe they're in telecom and they're having issues with some of their connections, and they need pros to come in and fix that, and then where can people find your company if they just want to kind of kick the tires and take a look?
I mean, the easiest way to find me or the company would be LinkedIn. Just Google my name or the company name, you will find it right away. And as far as for the website, it's going to be right there.
Awesome. Well, listen, for everyone else listening today, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Future of Biz Tech. And hey, if you liked what I said today, if you liked what Ihor said today specifically, because he's the guest, give it a 5-star rating. And hey, share it with other tech nerds, because that's how people like you and I find cool podcasts like this one. Ihor, thanks so much for being on the show. I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you for inviting me.